With the recent buffs, MF became one of the strongest AP carries, and in this video I'll teach you how to master this comp by going over the build, what items and augments to take, how to play the early, mid, and late game, and then I'll go over some in-depth positioning examples. This comp can be a bit flexible because our core units are the 5 Anima Squad units of MF, Riven, Nasus, Jinx, and Vayne, where MF is our main carry and Riven is our main tank. The most common level 8 board is 5 Anima Squad with Alistar, Echo, and Sejuani. This gives us a good mix of frontline synergies with Brawler, Mascot, and Aegis. Sejuani can be swapped for another unit depending on what you need in your team. The best hero augments for this comp are both of MF's augments, Nasus support, Riven support, Jinx support, or Vayne support. Some other hero augments that also work and allow you to keep units on your board in the late game are support augments for Janna, Poppy, Wukong, and Vi, or the carry augment for Zac. The best hero augment is MF's carry augment, so if you see that, instantly pick it up. And if you want to learn more about hero augments, then check out my guide where I go in depth on that subject. And I'll talk more about how you can change up your board based on your augments and emblems, and what you add in at level 9 later in the video. MF is our main carry, so we prioritize making items for her first. She has one core item, and that is Sojin. She has a huge mana pool of 120, so she needs some sort of mana generation to cast her spell multiple times in a fight, and Sojin is the best option to do that. The second item wants to be a damage item. This can be Giant Slayer, Guardbreaker, Deathcap, Archangels, or Jewel Gauntlet. MF gets ability power from the Anima trait, so the best one out of these are Giant Slayer, Guardbreaker, or Jewel Gauntlet, because these amplify her base damage, but the other AP items also work. The third item can be either a damage item or a healing item. This can be Giant Slayer, Guardbreaker, Deathcap, Archangels, Jewel Gauntlet, Hodge, Shiv, or Gunblade. Gunblade is great to heal up the frontline and to make your team stay alive longer. Hodge and Shiv both build from mana items, which gives MF starting mana, so both can be options if you can't make any of the other items. After making items for MF, we want to make items for our main tank, who is Riven. She uses standard tank items, and here is the tier list of her best items, with Ionic Spark being the best one by far. This comp absolutely needs one of Ionic or Shiv to be effective. Without them, it's a lot harder for MF to take down the enemy frontline. You can also build extra chalices if you have excess tears and cloaks, and put those on Jinx and give that buff to MF. If you get a spat, the best options are Anima Spat or Mascot Spat. With Anima Spat, you always want to play 7 Anima by giving the spat to Echo and adding in Silas for Sejuani. If you build Mascot Spat, put that spat on Riven or Echo and play 4 Mascots by swapping Sejuani for Nunu or Galio. The best non-hero augments are Portable Forge, Anima Hard Crest or Crown, Axiom Arc, Jeweled Lotus, Thrill of the Hunt, Prankster Crest, Second Wind, Electrocharge, Cybernetic Uplink, Component Grab Bag, Band of Thieves, and Earth's Grab Bag. I mentioned a lot of augments there, and the best ones out of those are Anima Squad Hard Crest or Crown, Portable Forge, Axiom Arc, Jeweled Lotus, Prankster Crest, and Earth's Grab Bag. If all that info was a lot to take in, then check out the cheat sheet for this comp. It's available for patrons and YouTube members. Here is the quirky cheat sheet, so you know what to expect for the Miss Fortune cheat sheet that is available right now. The carousel priority for this comp is Tier, Sword, Rod, then Belt, and the best opener for this comp is Anima Jinx. Make sure to keep copies of Jinx on your bench because we will need her in our late game team. Some other openers that also work are Lux Carry, Gadgeteen Lulu, or Mascot Yuumi. Some good items to build in the early game are Sunfire, Sojin, Decap, Ionic Spark, Bramblevest, JG, Guardbreaker, Warmogs, and Gunblade. From there, your early game strategy depends a lot on how good your opener is. In some games you play for a loss streak, and in some games you play for a win streak. And if you want to learn more about how to play the early game, then check out my guide where I go in depth on that subject. After the Krugs round, you should have more direction towards a comp, and the general requirements to play MF is to have one fully built MF item and a component for another MF item. You always want to hold MF, Riven, and Echo if you're not playing them, and you want to hold on to the other units as well if you don't lose eco for holding them. If you are weak in the mid game, you have 2 options. You can either roll at level 6 or 7 to stabilize and stop the bleeding of HP. If you are at level 6, it should be on stage 3 too, where you want to look for a board similar to this. Here you play 5 Anima with Jinx as your item holder, and complete the level 6 board with a strong frontline synergy, like Brawler, Mascot, or Defender. Make sure to hold on to any excess Jinxes you find, because we want to play her in the level 8 version of this comp, and it can be a bit hard to find her there. If you have to roll at level 7 instead, you can do this in either stage 3-5 or 4-1. which you pick depends on how much HP and gold you have, and when rolling at level 7, you want to aim for a board like this, where you stabilize off of MF 1 star and Riven 2 star. During the mid game, it's also important to scout. This is so we can see how many other people are playing MF. This comp can support 2 to 3 people, so if you see more than that going for it, then consider pivoting into another AP comp like Spellslinger Talia or Heart Soraka. On stage 4-1, you want to be level 7, and from here, you have 2 different options. You can either roll level 7, or you can go for a fast 8 and roll there. The games where you roll level 7 is when you're 60 to 50 HP or lower, you cannot go level 8 on 4-5, or if a lot of other people are rolling down here as well. Generally speaking, it's recommended to roll at least a bit here for a board like this. After you've stabilized, the goal is to be level 8 on stage 5-1 at the latest, so try not to roll below 10 to 20 gold, because we need the money to go level 8 later in the game. If you have a lot more gold than normal, you can go level 8 on 4-2, but at the latest, you should go in on stage 5-1. Here you want to end up with a board like this, where MF is our main carry, and if we have AD items left over, we can make Vayne our secondary carry. Riven is our main tank, while Echo, Alistar, and Sejuani are there to round out the synergies nicely. If you get Anima Spat, you always want to give it to Echo and play 7 Anima Squad by swapping Sejuani for Silas. This is the strongest version of the comp, and Echo is a great user of the Spat because he benefits from both the stacking HP and the AP that the trait gives. Mascot Spat goes on either Riven or Echo, and you want to play Galio or Nunu instead of Sejuani and have 4 mascots in. This gives a ton of healing to our team. In the case that you have a Prankster emblem, give it to Riven or Alistar and frontline your Jinx too if she doesn't have chalices, because with 3 Prankster, the earlier it triggers, the better. Depending on what hero augment you got, you can change up the board to fit in that unit. Fitting in Vi is very easy because she is both a brawler and an Aegis, so she synergizes very well with our comps. Zac goes on our board instead of Sejuani, and in the case where you got the carry augment, you want to play him as your main tank instead of Riven. You can also play Janna instead of Sejuani if you get her support augment. The best weather in this case is rainy, but windy and sunny can also work. Poppy grants a shield to the whole team, which makes our board very tanky. You want to play her instead of Sejuani. This makes us lose Brawler, but gain the Defender synergy, which is really good against AD comps. Wukong's support augment is great for MF, because it restores a ton of mana after her first cast. This means she can cast her spell twice within a matter of seconds. Once you hit your board at level 8, you have 2 options from there. The first one is to roll for MF 3-star. This strategy is very risky, so I would only do this if you're uncontested, you have a lot of gold after you hit your entire board 2-star on your first level 8 roll down, and you found at least 5 copies of the MF already. From there, make sure to slow roll above 50 gold as long as you can, then roll down to 0 once you get low in HP. Generally though, this strategy is not recommended because we can make our board a lot stronger by going level 9. The other option is to go level 9, and here we add in Leona, Janna, a threat Urgot or Fiddle, or a defender like Set. Leona gives us 3 Ages and helps us deal with high health tanks like Mech Set or threats. Urgot and Fiddle are both very strong units on their own, so you can usually throw them into any comp as the 9th unit. The Defender synergy is great against AD comps, and makes Riven a lot tankier. If you couldn't make an anti-heal item, then you want to play Aesol, because his ability hits almost the entire enemy team. General positioning with this comp looks like this, where we have MF in one of these hexes to get the best angle for her ultimate, but you should always position her opposite to the enemy carry. Riven is in the middle of the front row, and Echo is on the same side as MF. Sejuani is opposite to the MF, and on the second hex to stun the cornered units. Now let's move on to some in-depth positioning examples. Against the first guy, the big threat is Viego. We position MF to be alone so that she doesn't get jumped on by Viego, and in the hex next to the corner to not get jumped by the Talon. Sejuani is positioned to stun the whole frontline and Aphelios. Alistar is positioned to tank the first ultimate from Leona. Against the second guy, the big threat is Zed. MF is positioned away from where Zed is going to land, Jinx is there to be targeted by Zed, and have him proc Prankster. Our Sejuani is positioned away from the enemy Echo to avoid ulting in the wrong direction, while our Echo is positioned to taunt both the Sejuani and the Mordekaiser. Alistar is positioned to have a chance to knock up the Sejuani. Against the third guy, the big threats are Kai'Sa and Rammus. MF is separated to not get knocked up by Rammus, and Jinx is positioned to bait out the Rammus ultimate. Sejuani stuns the entire frontline plus Kai'Sa and Vel'Koz with her ult. She is also positioned away from the Cho'Gath to not get mana reaped by him. Alistar is positioned to knock up the Rammus. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. If you want cheat sheets for any of my comp guides, they're available for YouTube members and patrons, and links to those are down in the description. And if you want to get better at TFT, join the Discord. We got over 9,000 other players there who are hungry to climb. And if you want to get coached by me, the information is over on the Discord server as well. So take care and see you in the next video.